Hare Krishna, everyone. Okay, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra Mai ki Jai. Nitai Chaitanya ki Jai. Parshuram Bhagwan ki Jai. Vamandev ki Jai. Giri Govardhan ki Jai. Okay, let's begin. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are doing this chapter number 10, the opulences of the Absolute. So today's verse is verse number 15. Arjuna is talking to Lord Krishna. Swayam evatmanatmanam vetah tvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesha deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. So here Arjuna is talking about his realizations to Krishna after he has spoken about his opulences. Particularly the verse number 10.8 to 10.11, Lord Krishna explains the 4 seed verses called as the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, where he explains about his position and about the position of those people who worship Lord Sri Krishna. And then he tells what is it that they give, what he gives to them. So then Arjuna is saying that, oh my dear Lord, you are the Supreme Person. You are the origin of all the beings. You are the God of all gods and Lord of the universe. So today we will explore the topic of God. So when we say God, different cultures have different imagination or different conception of God. So let us try to come to an objective conclusion. Like, what are the qualities of God and who is God? So let's do that. Let me open my screen here. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. So here it is. Let's begin. So first question is, can we understand God? Now, if I am able to understand God, then what is so special about God? God means somebody whom I cannot understand. So that's what Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, that Name vidu suraganaha. That means nobody can understand Krishna, including the demigods, including the great rishis or the great mental speculators, or including the great scientists. Nobody can understand God. Krishna says, I know the past, present, and future, but me, nobody knows. Namam veti kaschana. And then Krishna is saying all the living entities are born of delusion. So when we are born in illusion. Mohitam na bhijanati. Because of our delusion, by birth, we cannot understand God. Avajananti mamudha. Krishna is telling, foolish people cannot understand who is God. So it is not possible with our tiny brains to understand who is God. So the next question is, how can we understand God? So to understand God, it is only possible through bhakti or loving devotional service. Because that is the process that Krishna himself recommended. Bhaktya mam abhijanati. There is no other way to understand God than through the bhakti of God. Now comes the next question. Who is God? Let us try to explore this topic. Who is God? First of all, a commonsensical definition of God is greatest person. First of all, God is a person and he is the greatest. So in Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma is saying, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindam Sarvakarana Karanam. So Lord Brahma is saying, Ishvara Parama Krishna. So Krishna is the topmost Ishvara. And Krishna himself is saying in Bhagavad Gita, Mattah Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. There is nobody superior to me. So that means there cannot be any person who is equal to God or greater than God. So that is Krishna. And the next point is opposites can exist in God. So God cannot be defined in a straight way that this is God and this is not. Because opposites exist. He is the farthest and at the same time, he is the nearest. He is the oldest person. He is the Adyam Purana Purusham Navayavvanam cha. Even though he is the oldest person in this universe, he is still very young. Navayavvanam cha. He is very beautiful. Right? So that is God. And God is both formless and has a form at the same time. So he can have multiple opposites at the same time. So if he does not have a form, then that means he is an incomplete God. If he has a form and if he is not formless, then also he is incomplete. Therefore, we have to understand that God is personal and impersonal at the same time. So that is the wonderful contradiction that is possible in God. So let's try to understand the personal form. So with respect to the personal form, then what is this personal form? Is this body material like a human body which deteriorates? No. God's body is transcendental, right? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, he is saying that he has a transcendental body, right? And he takes birth with that transcendental body. So how does he take birth? He's saying, Ajopi san avyayatma, bhutanam ishwaropi san, prakritim swam adhishtaya, sambhavami atma mayaya. So that means, first of all, God does not have any birth. God does not have any birth, but yet he takes birth. So this is the opposites. If God is not able to take birth, that is a limitation. So he must be able to do whatever he wants. God is unborn, aja. But at the same time, he takes birth. But with his transcendental body. He doesn't have a material body like how human beings have. Right? So what is the purpose of God's birth? Let's try to understand that. So the God's birth, there is a purpose. It's a transcendental activity. The purpose is whenever there is a decline in religious principles and rise in the irreligion, that time he appears. So he says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharataha abhyudhanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. Even though Krishna is unborn, he is being born whenever there is a decline in the religious principles and decline in the religious principles and uprise of irreligion. At that time, Krishna is born. And what is the purpose? To deliver the pious people and annihilate the miscreants. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So this is the purpose of God's birth. So let's try to understand that God does not have a spirit soul. Just like everything which has a matter or a body, material body, also has an atma. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, we have understood that every living entity, there is a body and inside that there is a spirit soul. So like that, God does not have a spirit soul. God does not have an atma inside him. He is the antaryami, or he is the atma, or he is the paramatma in everybody. But he does not have paramatma inside him. That we have to understand. And what about the God's form? This God's form does not deteriorate like a human body. Like a human body, it deteriorates and then it dies, right? And it becomes a dead body. So this does not happen with God's body, right? And let us try to understand what are the activities of God. So these activities are transcendental. Janma karma cha me divyam. Divya means transcendental, right? His birth is transcendental. His activities are also transcendental. So when he is taking incarnations for establishing the religion, that is transcendental activity. That is not a material activity. It is not that he is born out of karma. The living entities are born, or rather they are forced to be born because of their karma. But God is not forced to be born. He is born out of his own sweet will, right? So there is a statement in the Vedas that says, Eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman. That means he is one singular who maintains all the plural. So all the living entities, all the billions and trillions and gazillions of the living entities which are present, they are all maintained by one single person. That is God. And it is said God is the cause of all causes. The supreme cause for everything is God. Sarva karana karanam. That's what Lord Brahma has said, that Krishna is the cause for all the causes in this universe. And Krishna is the cause of all the universes. So how does that happen? So basically, Krishna doesn't have got any work to do. Name karmani limpanti, name karma phalasprihaha. Krishna says, I don't have got any work to do. There is no activity that I have got to do because there is nothing that I have got to gain. Everything is mine. But yet I do work. Why does God work even though he doesn't need to work? To set an example. Because whatever a great person does, the common man follows. Therefore, if God works, everybody will work. If God stops working, everybody will stop working. Therefore, he will do the activity. He will personally manage, and he will himself set an example and show all the living entities how to work. And at the same time, he teaches how to work also in his message of Bhagavad Gita. So what is the activity of God? The activity of God is the creation, sustenance, and the destruction of universe. Or rather, not one universe, but all the universes are coming from Krishna. In his expansion of Karanodakashari Vishnu or Mahavishnu, there are infinite universes that are coming from the skin pores of Mahavishnu. So we see the story of Lord Krishna showing the universe to his mother. One day when Krishna was eating mud, Yashoda asks him to open his mouth, and he shows his mouth open, and Yashoda is able to see all the universe inside the mouth of Krishna. So Krishna is showing that the entire universe is within him, and the creation, destruction, and maintenance is the cause is Krishna. And he is personally maintaining the universe in the form of Lord Vishnu. So the Vedanta Sutras, there is 1.1.2 which says Janmadhyasya yataha. So by definition, Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause for creation, sustenance, and destruction of the universes. So also there is the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, O my Lord Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the material universes. You see, here it is being said that he is the cause for all the causes, that is, creation, sustenance, and destruction. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all the manifestations, and he is independent because there is no cause beyond him. So Krishna is Abhigya Swarat. Swarat means it's completely independent. So he is not dependent on anybody. He does not consult anybody for taking a decision. He will take independent decisions. he will do his work independently. Rather, everybody is dependent on Krishna, but he is not dependent on anybody. By him, it is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. So this whole entire universe is supposed to be an illusion that is created by Krishna, and he is the cause for it. Only because of him do the material universes temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of material nature appear factual. It's only because of him that these universes appear to be factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. So Krishna stays in his transcendental abode, and his transcendental abode is free from these illusory representations of the material nature. So let's try to understand. So Krishna has got only personal form, or he has got impersonal form also. As I said, impersonal form also is belonging to Krishna. The source of the impersonal form is the personal form. It is not the other way around. Personal form of Krishna did not come from impersonal form. This is very easy to understand. Just like we have the sun and sunlight. So did the sunlight come from sun, or sun come from sunlight? This is a common sense argument. So similarly, Krishna is a person who is there in his transcendental abode eternally. And from him, there is an effulgence that is coming out of his body. That is called as the impersonal Brahman, or the Brahma Jyoti, upon which all the great yogis and the transcendentalists and the jnanis, they meditate. And they want to merge inside this impersonal form. So the source of the impersonal form is personal form. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 14th chapter, Brahmano hi pratishtaham, that this Brahman he is the source of Brahman, right? It is dependent upon him. That it is not that he has become Krishna by transformation of Brahman. This theory is not supported by Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna himself is saying, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagat avyakta murtina. That means he is pervading the entire universe in his impersonal form. Avyakta murtina. So he is pervading everywhere. So wherever you see, whatever you see, it is actually Krishna. That is his impersonal form. That we have to understand. So what is he saying next is that Krishna or God is the supreme energetic. That is, Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. This is the Shruti mantra, which says that God has got multifarious energies. What are these multifarious energies of God? The material energy, the spiritual energy, and the marginal energy. The material energy is the five elements that we are able to see: earth, water, fire, ether, and air. Bhumirapona lovayu khammano buddhi revacha ahamkara itiyam me bhinna prakriti rashtada. So all the material manifestation is his energy. That is material energy. And the spiritual energy is his devotional service. The love of Krishna is his internal potency. And what is the marginal energy? Marginal energy are the living entities. All the jivas are the marginal energy of Krishna. So then, let us try to understand this, that God is the source of all that is spirit and matter. So anything in this universe is made up of spirit and matter. It's that combination that works. Without spirit, the matter cannot exist, and without matter, the spirit will not be able to exhibit in a manifested form in the material world. So both have to exist, and the source of both matter and spirit is Krishna. And the purpose of life is to attain love of Godhead. That is the purpose of life. And what is the process? the process of attaining love of Godhead is to do devotional service. So it is by practice that we can attain the perfection. What is that practice? The practice of doing devotional service. We are practicing to love God, and then we will attain the love of God, which is the ultimate purpose of life. So God is master of Maya. We have seen from the verse quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1 that Krishna is the source of the Maya, or rather, Krishna is the controller of Maya. It is not that God is controlled by Maya. If Maya is more powerful than God, then Maya is God. How can God be God? It's a very common sense. God must be master of everyone and everything, including illusion. So God is the master of Maya. And by worshipping God, worshipping Krishna, we can transcend the Maya. Right? So Krishna says, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Daivi hi esham gunamai, Mama Maya Duratyaya, Mameva hi prapadyante, Maya metam tarantite. Anybody who worships Krishna will transcend Maya. Mam chayo abhyabicharena bhakti yogena sevate, sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. By worshipping or by doing bhakti yoga, transcendental loving devotional service to Krishna, what happens? We will transcend the three modes of material nature, that is God. And God is the cause of bondage and liberation both. If we forget God, we are in bondage and we will have repeated birth, death, old age and disease. And if we remember God, if we simply worship Him with loving devotional service, we will be liberated. And God is the source of the supreme knowledge. So all the Vedas are coming from the Lord's body. All the Vedas are coming from His body. So including this Bhagavad Gita, the supreme knowledge is coming from the lotus mouth of Krishna. The Vedanta Sutras, the supreme knowledge of the spiritual knowledge, that is written by God Himself, Vyasadeva, who is incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. So where is God present? God is present in His personal abode. What is that personal abode? It is called as Paramdhama. So where after attaining to that Paramdham, the topmost planet, it is free from anxiety. So that is the definition of God's abode. Vaikunta means Vigata Kunta. That means there is no anxiety. See, this material world is the opposite. That means there is anxiety at every step. But Vaikunta, there is no anxiety. So there is no birth and death in God's abode. Yadgatvana nivartante tadhama paramamama. Krishna is telling there is no birth, no death, no old age, no disease in Vaikunta, in the God's abode. And the only activity in God's abode that people do in the liberated souls, what do they do in personal abode of the Lord? They are only serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the only activity that they do. And God is present in everyone's heart. He says, Ishvara Hrudayanam Hriddeshe Ishvara Tishtati. Krishna says that He is present in every living entity's heart. In the expansion of Paramatma, that is God. So God must be present in every living entity's heart. And He is present not only in the heart, but He is present in each and every atom also. And everything that we can see in this world is actually the impersonal form of the God, right? But yet that doesn't mean that He has not got a personal form, right? So there is another interesting thing that by satisfying the God, the entire world is satisfied. Yasmin tushte jagat tushtaha. That means by satisfying the Lord, everything is satisfied. Just like if you water the root of the plants, the entire plant gets watered, right? Similarly, if you worship Krishna, you are worshipping the entire universe. Who is the source of the universe? That we have to understand. And just because the material world is coming from God, that doesn't mean that He has become less now. Let us try to understand this. What is this material world? This material world that we are currently in is only 25% of God's creation. there is 75% of creation which is the spiritual world. Parastasmat bhava anyat vyakto vyakta sanatanaha. So that is, there is yet another world which is not deteriorating at the time of the annihilation. At the time of pralaya, there is an abode that doesn't get touched. That is the spiritual world. That is Tripada. Tripada means 75% is that. And who stays there? Living entities who are completely liberated, they are staying there. And this material world is coming from Krishna. Infinite universes are coming from Krishna. And just because infinite universe is coming from Krishna, did Krishna deteriorate? Just like if you take a paper and tear it into two, does it mean that the paper has now become smaller paper? So just because a universe has come out of Krishna, has he become Krishna minus the universe? No. The Shruti mantra Ishopanishad says this. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. That means the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Is Purnam, is complete. And what happened? Purnamadaha, he is complete, Purnam. Purnamidam, this is complete, Purnam. Purnat Purnamudachyate. The complete whole is giving another complete whole. That is the material universe. This material universe is complete whole. Right? It is independent complete whole, which is coming from the complete. So just because this independent complete whole is coming from the complete, it doesn't happen that the complete has now become incomplete. The complete is always complete, even if you remove complete from the complete. Purnam, Purnasya Purnamadaya means if I remove the complete from the complete, it is still complete whole. Purnamevavashishyate, that is God. So even if infinite universes are coming from Lord, it doesn't become that he has now deteriorated or become lesser, any less. He is still the same perfect, same personality. So we know that, the definition of Bhagavan is that there are 6 qualities of Bhagavan. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashashashriyaha jnana vairagyayamschaiva shannam bhagam itingana. 6 qualities must be there for God. That first of all, Aishwaryasya, he is the Lord of all the wealth. Lakshmi Pati, his name is called Madhava. Ma means Lakshmi. Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune. The husband of goddess of fortune is actually the owner of the entire world, wealth of the entire universe. That is Krishna. And he is the most energetic and the most powerful personality. And he has proven it time and again in his various incarnations. When he has come in the incarnation of Lord Varaha, he lifts the entire universe on his tusks. He lifts the entire material world. He puts that earthly planet on his tusk and he lifts it. So just to show his prowess, when he has come in the incarnation of Vamana, he has expanded to the entire length and breadth of the universe, and when he stretched his legs downwards, he touched the downward lower planetary systems. When he stretched his leg upwards, he touched the upper planetary systems. So just to show what is his prowess. So like that, when Krishna, he himself came, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. When he himself came, Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma. When he himself came, he lifted the Govardhana and showed. And he's lifting an entire mountain on his finger. And what to talk about that? All the material universes are resting upon Anantashesha, which is an expansion of Krishna or God. So God is the supremely powerful. And he is very famous. Right? Krishna is the most famous. So there are multiple religions which are hardly thousands of years old. But this dharma, Sanatana dharma, is millions of years old. How old is it? It is 311 trillion years old. That is the age of our religion, dharma. And this Bhagavad Gita, how old is it? It is as old as the sun god. Krishna said it is avyayam. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam. So as old as the sun is, this Bhagavad Gita is. So Krishna is the most knowledgeable person who has given all the Vedas to Lord Brahma. So if he has given all the Vedas to Lord Brahma, then obviously he is the most knowledgeable personality. That is Krishna. And The most renounced personality is Krishna. Just because he has got all these powers, that doesn't mean that he is a very proud person. He is very humble. And he's so humble that he accepted to become a driver for his devotee Arjuna, to show how humble he is, how renounced he is. And let us try to understand that he is the source of all the demigods and the sages. Right? He says, Nabe vidu aham adirhi devanam, and Maharshayaha means he is the origin of all the devatas. All the great Devi Devatas whom we are worshipping, all the Devi Devatas, Krishna is saying that he is the origin of all the Devatas. And what is the hierarchy of that Devi Devatas? Let's just try to see that. So the first thing is that Bhagavan. Bhagavan is the supreme personality of Godhead. Then comes the Devatas. Then comes Rishis. Then comes the ancestors. Then comes the human beings. This is the hierarchy. But there is one supreme personality of God. So that's why Arjuna is saying, Deva Deva Jagatpate. Deva Deva means you are the God of the gods. Deva Deva Jagatpate means you are the controller of the entire universe. So this is the hierarchy, right? God is the source of everyone. And this material world which we are thinking that this is very great, Krishna is telling, Ekam Sena Stito Jagat. Means he's just telling, by one spark I am maintaining the entire universe. Only by one spark, just imagine. If only one spark is able to maintain the entire universe, then what is that complete whole? That is Krishna. Just by one spark he is able to maintain the entire creation. And Krishna is saying that he is the absolute truth. In the Bhagavatam, there is a verse which says, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnana madvayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabdyati. So Krishna is in three forms we can understand Krishna. Bhagavan form, right? Bhagavan, first form is Brahman. Brahman means impersonal form. That in the impersonal form, he is pervading everything. Second form is the Paramatma form. He is residing in the heart of every living entity in the Paramatma form. And Bhagavan form is that personal form which is the source of Brahman and Paramatma. So that is Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. So therefore, the supreme Lord is Krishna. So this is the conclusion. That is the conclusion, that the supreme form, supreme Lord, or the supreme personality of Godhead is Krishna. Now, how does he look like? So for the impersonalists, he looks like the universal form. Now people, they want to worship the material nature. So the man behind the material nature, the universal form, the Virat Purusha, what he has demonstrated or he is going to demonstrate in the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that is a universal impersonal form. And he has got a four-handed form. And he has got a two-handed Shama Sundara form. Right? That Arjuna is now speaking to. So this is the original form of Krishna. That is a Shama Sundara form, right? Where he has got two hands and a flute. And he is eternally present in his eternal abode called as Golok Dham, right? And his age is 16 years old. And there he is very happily playing with all his associates. And the entire creation, destruction, and maintenance of the universes is just a play for him. So that is God. So God, even though he has got one form, he has got unlimited forms in the forms of Vishnu Tattva. Just like how a Vaidurya or a very beautiful diamond, there are so many dazzling light coming from that Vaidurya or from that diamond. So infinite lights are coming from that. Similarly, God is one, but there are so many different forms of Vishnu Tattva and all his incarnations that are all coming and they are all manifested and they are all transcendental entities. So thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. If you have any questions or any comments, you can say. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
I wish you could have continued another 2 minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I have a question.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, I understand Lord Krishna is the supermost of everything, but how is he different from a Krishna avatar, Prabhuji?
Krishna avatar, Mataji, there is nothing called as Krishna avatar actually. See, Krishna is coming as he's like it is the original form. Krishna is the original form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he is taking incarnations. No, in Bhagavad Gita, he is telling us, Sambhavami yuge yuge. Krishna is not saying, I am an incarnation. Krishna is telling all the I incarnate. He's telling I incarnate. Incarnations come from him. Okay. So it is one way of understanding is when he comes to the material world, he comes through his four-handed form. So his four-handed form, Lord Vishnu, that too specifically Kshirodakashai Vishnu. Karnodakashai Vishnu is Mahavishnu. Next Vishnu is Garbhodakashai. Next is Kshirodakashai Vishnu. And all the incarnations within the material world come through him. So which is again Krishna himself. So therefore, if you look from that perspective, it appears as if, Krishna is an incarnation coming from Vishnu. But we have to understand that all these forms are eternal forms. That avatara itself means coming down. That means originally there is another. Right? Originally there is another person who is avatari, who is the source of the avatara. And he has got his own transcendental abode. So is that clear, Mataji? Avatari. We are speaking about that avatari.
Okay. So, but when we are reading all the Leelas, whatever he had done it here, that only we are reading, no, Prabhuji?
Yes, Mataji. We are reading that, correct? But then that avatara, especially he comes once in a day of Brahma. And when he has come in the latest 5,000 years ago, when Krishna has come, that is himself who has come. He is descended from Golok Vrindavan to come. So that is the wonderful fortune that we have.
Okay.
He is the original avatari. Krishna himself has come.
Okay.
Not as an incarnation, but he himself came and performed.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for joining. Have a blissful
Hare Krishna,
day.
Prabhuji.
Thank you.